Blessings on this warm, very warm Wednesday night from our back parking lot. And welcome to this that opportunity. If you have a candle nearby, you can light that. Just take a deep breath where you are and center yourself. I'm loving being outside here where I can hear birds and hear the wind too, so it's wonderful. So just want to remind you of a couple of things. We worship on Sundays, 10 a.m. This Sunday, July 12, we'll live stream from the sanctuary with a small crew here at church. And we start a new series this week on the minor prophets. And so some of you have, in your newsletter, you might have seen this. This is your flat prophet, something that you can have with you for the 6 weeks of the summer as we go through those 6 of those books together, starting with Amos this Sunday. And I sent out some info this week to prepare us for that. So just take a look at the email that was sent yesterday. Some good information, especially because the minor prophets are not books that we read a lot. So keep that in mind. Take some time to read through the book of Amos and take a look at those resources. I want to remind you that all of our worship services and our devotional times are available on our YouTube channel at Lake Harbor UMC. You can also find them afterward, after we do this each night as well. So also just a reminder to reach out if you have any need or if you know somebody who does. And I want to thank you for your faithful giving that helps us serve one another. And also let you know that I'm continuing to share resources that I find, especially around issues of standing against racism. And so tonight you'll see a link where you can sign up for some daily prayers that are really helpful in kind of calling us to remember how we're called to stand against the sin of racism. So I have an experience I want to share with you from this past weekend as we kind of ended our series on living unafraid. I had an experience of being very afraid this weekend at one moment. So as we're closing out this time of thinking about how we live with courage and hope, I wanted to share that with you. But first I want to read from the Gospel of Mark. This is chapter 14, beginning with verse 32. Jesus and his disciples came to a place called Gethsemane. Jesus said to them, "Sit here while I pray." He took Peter, James, and John along with him. He began to feel despair and was anxious. He said to them, "I'm very sad. It's as if I'm dying. Stay here and keep alert." Then he went a short distance farther and fell to the ground. He prayed that if possible he might be spared the time of suffering. He said, "Abba, Father, for you all things are possible. Take this cup of suffering away from me. However, not what I want, but what you want." And you probably know the rest of that story. Well, we've probably heard that passage before, usually when we're walking in the season of Lent, but I thought of it again as I thought about my own very human tendency to be afraid. Jesus, in his full humanity, experienced fear as we do, and I don't pretend to compare my situation that I experienced this last weekend to his, but there's comfort in knowing that he understands our fears and worries completely. We spent July 4th, so this is the experience. We were, last Saturday, July 4th, we were on a boat with close friends. It was a beautiful day and a very busy day on the lake, and we went all over, from White Lake into Lake Michigan, to Muskegon Lake, back into Lake Michigan, and we went fast enough that I lost my hat in the boat. We enjoyed waving as we went through the channels very slowly too, and it was busy everywhere. And I haven't spent a lot of time on boats in my life, and it's amazing to watch all the boats and sea-doos and kayaks and hope and pray that everyone is safe and careful on the lake. Now, you need to know that I get a little anxious when I stop and think about being in deep water. So if I'm on the boat and it's going, that's fine. But as soon as I kind of think about how deep it is, I get a little fearful. I don't swim very well. I love being on the water and near the water, but my mind can go quickly from the best to the worst scenario, and that's what it did on Saturday. There was a point where the motor wouldn't start on the boat, and so we were just in the water, and I got very, very afraid. And so my mind went to the worst things. What if I have to swim all the way back in a life jacket? What if we're stuck out here forever? You can imagine it didn't take long, and the part of my brain that regulates that fight, flight, or freeze reaction, remember the amygdala we learned about at the beginning of the series, it was working overtime, and I was trying to breathe slowly and slow my heart rate down. I was moving around so I wasn't uncomfortable, and I prayed silently. And eventually, we were back on dry land, and almost immediately I felt better. But it's one of those moments that I'll remember because it reminded me of what we'd been focusing on as it relates to how we deal with fear. Maybe you still have that card that we gave out at the beginning of the series, that acronym for fear, false events appearing real. And maybe you remember the other acronym that I shared early on. I shared it a couple of months ago, and then we shared it again in our series. And it's another acronym if you use those words of fear, the ways that we can live with courage and hope. One of them is facing our fears with faith, so that's the F. The E is examining our assumptions in light of the facts. The A is attacking our anxieties with action. And then the R is releasing our fears to God. For anything we face, our faith matters. It's a source of help for us, and we can rely on God's help in the midst of it. And our bodies are designed to protect us from fear, but there are times when we can't run or fight, and we have to endure the fear. I felt that way this weekend, but we don't endure it alone, even though sometimes it might feel that way. There are people who care about us and want the best for us, and even as I was really, really fearful, my family was trying to calm me down. And if you're fearful about the state of the world or your health or the future or anything else, please take time to share that as we pray tonight. Jesus' fears were founded as he faced suffering. They were certainly normal, and he had reason to be fearful. He had reason to ask God to take that cup from him, but we also know that he was honest about how he felt and ultimately trusted in God's care. So we can do the same and find strength in that promise that we are not alone. So I would simply invite you to join your heart with mine in prayer tonight. We'll take just a moment in silence where you are. If there are things that you are fearful of tonight, I would invite you simply to offer them. If it's helpful for you to offer them aloud where you are, do that. And if it's helpful to just offer them silently, do that. So let's take a moment. God, hear the fears of our hearts and our minds this night. Dear God, thank you for understanding our moments of fear amid our faith. We find ourselves sometimes praying like Jesus. There are some things we have to deal with that we'd rather not deal with. We'd like the cup to pass from us. And if it's our cup, then help us. Give us strength and courage and remind us that you're with us always. And we pray in all that we face, both individually and together, that we could see your redeeming work, even in difficult times. So we gather our hearts together tonight and we pray for hope for those who feel hopeless, for healing for those who need healing, for those who are seeking new employment, for calm for those who are in the midst of transitions, for community for those who feel lonely, for peace for those who are in the middle of conflict, for understanding for those seeking to be understood, for comfort for those who grieve, for food for those who are hungry, for shelter for those who are homeless, for clean water for those who are thirsty, for rain for those who live in the midst of drought, and for a time of no rain for those who have had too much. We pray for freedom for those who live under oppression. We pray for leaders, that they would seek the common good. We pray for spiritual growth for ourselves and spiritual health for our churches, even at this very different time. We continue to pray for those who are affected by coronavirus, those who are quarantining at home, those who are in hospitals, those who are caring for them. God, we continue to pray that you would make us very aware and very ready to act as we seek justice for all people. And in all of that, we do pray for your kingdom to reign here on earth. As we've spent that time offering the prayers to you, help us remember that you know our needs and you hear our prayers. Even before we ask, you are aware of all the things that we carry. And help us to hear that word from Jesus, that when we come to him, he offers us rest. Maybe not easiness, but rest, that we don't carry those burdens alone. And as we gather tonight, even though we may be not in the same place, we know we are united by your Spirit, and so we pray together as Jesus taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I want to invite you all next Wednesday. We'll have our devotional time at 6 o'clock, and then after that, it is actually a very special day for Yvonne and me. It is our 20th wedding anniversary on July 15th, so we'll be here. Hopefully the weather will be great, and we'll be here in the parking lot with ice cream for you. So come and celebrate with us, individually wrapped ice cream, so everything's safe. But we want to be able to celebrate with you. And then in 2 weeks, on the 22nd of July, we're hoping that we can come together if you want to do that and participate in a 5K walk or run or whatever's comfortable for you from here and back to support missions in our Michigan area, particularly flood recovery. So keep those things in mind. Enjoy the rest of this lovely night, and we'll see you on Sunday morning on the live stream. Peace out. Bye-bye.